Here, today I am going to explain a movie called The Therapist. Film opens with a couple having an anniversary and having a dinner together to celebrate their 7th wedding year. Ilo, like good wife, expressed her happiness, saying that her husband did a lot for her. But on the other hand, Fabian said that 7 years were the worst in his life because Ilo spent almost all of his money. From his words, the woman became aggressive and screamed at him, but Fabian, her friend Alice, who was a lawyer, she was disappointed and advised Ilo to divorce her husband. A day later, a letter of divorce was delivered to Fabian. That afternoon, Ilo went to the salon to decorate her hair. After finishing, she tried to pay, but found that her bank account had been frozen by her husband. Mrs. Praya helped her out by paying for a haircut. Later that night, she came home and saw that all her things were packed and standing outside the house. Her husband came out and said that she should not hope for anything as she is not entitled to any compensation, since she signed the document at the time of entry into marriage. Alice, having learned about the signed document, was disappointed because she could not do anything to help her friend. Ilo was running out of money day by day, so she was looking for a job and decided to go for an interview. But there she was told that she was too old, and since she had never worked, she also had no work experience. On her way home, her car was stuck in a traffic jam when suddenly someone bumped into her from behind. When she tried to confront the driver, she realized that it was the woman who paid for her haircut. She noticed that Mrs. Pryor was out of her mind. Ilo told her not worried and brought her to a cool place to relax and discuss what happened. During their discussion, Mrs. Pryor told how she put up with her husband because he is a completely disorderly person and spends all the money from business on women. Praya is so offended because she started this business herself. Ilo advised her to divorce her husband, to which she agreed. Having carefully read the marriage contract, they realized that after the divorce, everything would remain with her if there was any evidence that her husband was cheating on her. There was a private investigation and the evidence was filmed. Alice gave all the material to Praya's lawyer, and she said that she would remain 90% of the company, and she would remain the head of the company. She agreed to a divorce. She was so happy that she gave the ladies 10 million naira for their services. She advised them to start a business and advocating for other women using the money they earned. The ladies opened a new office and created their own business. Their client was a woman who made a complaint about her husband who ran an illegal business. She wanted to be financially secure with her daughter. If her husband is caught, she will be fined 30 million naira, which she agreed to pay. During the discussion, the secretary called them and said that there were already several women waiting for them at the reception. These women were also looking for justice, but it turned out that 90% of them lie against their husbands in order to run away with their boyfriends. After Mrs. Bankful visited their office, she showed them how her husband had beaten her and she wanted to be financially secure after the divorce and was willing to pay a huge amount of money if they could get her husband to cheat. Since then, she might get a divorce and receive compensation. But it turned out that Mr. Bankville did not have a mistress. Then they found out that the man was going through depression after the death of his first wife and visited a therapist, but he needed a new therapist, in whose role Ilo would act and provoke him to treason. The wife arranged a meeting for them, and Ilo, as a therapist, began her session, making sure that they were alone in the room. She tried everything to attract his attention, and finally she got her way. They met on different occasions, and in the end they began to feel feelings for each other. After making love, Mr. Bankville began talking about his marriage to his first wife. It turns out that they struggled to have children, but when they visited the doctor, they found out that the wife was barren. It really depressed her. One day she brought her friend home, knelt down, and begged her husband to impregnate her friend. He refused, but she continued to insist, and one day he did it. Her friend got pregnant, and then in order not to afford a scandal, he married her, but she had a miscarriage. In the same year, he lost the only woman he ever loved, so now he barely lives with her friend. Their entire romantic moment was captured on a hidden camera, but Ilo told the co-workers that it should be removed and took the flash drive from them. They were surprised, and she explained to them that Mr. Bankle was not guilty of anything, and on the contrary, they should protect him. Later, when Mrs. Bankle visited their office to inquire about the progress of her case, Ilo said that there was still no evidence of infidelity. Miss Bankle leaves the office unhappily, but there she was stopped by Rufus, who was her secret agent. He showed her photographs showing the romantic moments of Mr. Bankle with Ilo. When she saw this, she became furious and immediately came to her husband, but her husband was ahead of her, told her that he wanted a divorce. This shocked her. She said that her husband really wants to divorce her because of a prostitute whom she paid to sleep with him and entertain him. This statement shocked Mr. Bankula. He went to Ilo's office, and seeing Ilo there, he was convinced that he had been set up. On the day they were supposed to divorce, Mrs. Bankle tries to show a photo of her cheating husband, but does not find them. On the contrary, her husband reveals that she herself cheated on him and shows the photo as evidence. It was because of this that she, Mrs. Bankle, lost all her compensation. Also, Ilo told her friends that she would give up this business and practice the profession of a therapist. Her friends were happy about this and wished her success. During the discussion, they saw how her ex-husband was arrested for the attack on Ilo and imprisoned. Ilo's life was getting better, and surprisingly, Mr. Benkel forgave her for her betrayal, realizing that she wanted the best and suggested that she start all over again because no matter how much he was in love with her. To which Ilo happily agreed, and here movie ends. Thank you for watching and see you on the channel.